Hello iOS fans, Robin here with more book reviews for you today, and it's a Word Wednesday today. And usually on these Word Wednesday posts I hold big books that I can hold up so you can't see my face, and sort of non-fiction stuff, but today I've actually got the planets have aligned, and I've got some fiction for you. So today's word is feed. Now, how this came about was that before Christmas I was reading somebody's books of the year, and there was a book by somebody called M.T. Anderson, and it was called Landscape in the Invisible Hand. So I thought I'd check that out, and I think it was possibly US only, or it was hardback, I can't remember now, but I thought I didn't get that. But while I was looking, he had a book called Feed, which was all about, it was written back in 2001, and it was written about sort of social media and the internet gone mad. And so it was interesting to read that 16 years later. It just sounded like an interesting idea, and I think a lot of the ideas in the book, from what I was reading about it, sort of getting towards happening. So I thought it would be really interesting to read. Anyway, while I was looking through my pile of books, I also noticed I had a brand new, spanking new book, comes out on the 25th of January, called The Feed. So the first one was called Feed, this one is called The Feed. And so that's why I'm here. I have two books, one called Feed by M.T. Anderson, and another one called The Feed by Nick Clark Window. And this is a new book, as I said, and this is a proof, so I'm not sure how the final version will look. So again, I should get Pete to flash up now. So this one is new by Nick Clark Window, The Feed. It comes out on the 25th of January. I think it's available on Kindle already. It's going to be $17.99 paperback, hardback price, but it's a little bit cheaper on Amazon. And this one's available too. This is $7.99 on Amazon. This is $7.99 cover price, maybe cheaper on Amazon. I'm not sure. I'll put links to both of them in the description below. So do look out for those if you find it interesting. And they're both called The Feed or Feed, and they have very similar kind of premise, and the premise really is that social media feeds have taken over literally how everybody runs their life, and everybody continually gets a feed. And not only do they get a feed like everybody not looking at their phones all the time, they actually have a physiological change in their brains, sort of an implants or whatever, to make sure that you're continually connected to the internet. And obviously that is a sort of, well, this one in particular, written in the early 2000s. It's particularly prescient, because I do feel that we all spend far too long, myself included, being connected to some sort of feed, trying to find out stuff, looking at stuff. What's everybody doing? All the time. And this is kind of like worst case scenario, I suppose. Both of these to an extent. This one more so. This is definitely The Feed is definitely a post-apocalyptic novel. And so in the first instance, they both examine technology and the way it might change, and the way we interact with it, how that may change, and how reliant we've become on it, and how well, obviously that has some good sides, but also how it can really sort of have some drawbacks. I want to mainly focus on this one because it's the new one, but they both have the idea, I suppose, that we are beholden. We're beholden to our feeds. We're beholden to our feeds, and we're almost constantly chasing validation. Particularly young people. This is a young adult novel. This one's a young adult novel. This one's a bit more grown up, but this one's a young adult novel. So particularly how youngsters are searching for validation on their feeds all the time, and how terribly detrimental that can be. And then even this week, I've kind of seen that a little bit myself, in that because this week Google have changed their how YouTube's going to pay its AdSense fee. So Pete and I are affected by that because we don't have enough subscribers yet to carry on getting advertising revenue, and it just kind of, that's terrible. What can we do? What can we do to get more followers? We must be more popular. We must be more popular, and we're always chasing that. So and I feel it too. I feel it in my reliance on technology, and I spend too long looking at my phone, seeing what everybody's doing, because you almost, Pete and I run this channel, and I write for Geek Dad, and all the popularity of it all the time is pushing it, and advertising, and this sort of advertising thing is huge in these books, both of them. This one pre-crash and this one during the book. The sort of you could just look at stuff, whatever, look at this jumper came from whatever shop, and it tells you how much it was, and constantly pushing adverts at you, but because of the technology to just right into your brain, and so you kind of feel, with this change in YouTube, it's very much directed towards the people who are going to bring in the most advertising revenue. Everything on the internet, it's free, a lot of it, but of course it's not, because it's all powered by advertising, and how they control things hugely, and you all know this. Hugely, things are controlled by advertising, and sort of this thing with Google, it's going to hurt, not kill, but it's going to hurt small creators, which means that it's just the big ones who continue, and so you water down, the amount of content potentially waters down, and so that's again, this is a similar thing in this theme in this book. Everybody's kind of attention span dumbs down. I know people hate doing this, but I thumb quotes, turn over pages of quotes that I like. This one's full of them. This one has got them too. And I will put in, there will be a written piece on Geek Dad about this, and I will put some of the quotes in, and just how we are reliant on this stuff we already are, how these things that happen in these books are actually already happening in a slightly less scary, less invasive way, but they're still happening. And so these books I found really interesting for that reason. So as I said, The Feed is a post-apocalyptic novel, and there's a couple of really good things going on. There's the central mystery is how did civilization collapse, because it kind of flits back and forth a little bit past the future. It opens in before it's all in the future, but it opens before the apocalypse, and then most of the novel is after the apocalypse. And that post-apocalyptic world is beautifully rendered, by the way. A really good description of people trying to survive with limited technology, and they've basically been given all the information they need, effectively, Wikipedia on the brain, literally, and so they don't know anything because they've always just looked it up instantly. Looks there, just there. Don't need to know anything. It's trying to how they've recovered from that, how people have survived. And of course, not very many people have survived. It's a bit distressing in places for that reason. So anyway, going back to what I was saying, there's this central mystery of how did the collapse occur. And it's when it happens, I don't think you'll see it coming. I kind of thought, oh, I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to. This is a bit obvious, and I was completely wrong. So I would recommend it for that. And then, as well as that, there is almost like a switch in tone, partway through the book, which again is not expected, or it will be expected now. I'm not really spoiling anything there, but there is a sudden change, and then that's really quite clever as well. And it builds up to this quite dramatic ending, and so again, I don't want to say too much. I don't want to spoil it. It's pretty emotive. I say it's a hard read, particularly if you've got kids. It's really a tough read, like most apocalyptic novels are. But it is very good. So that's a Nick Clarke Window. It's not a perfect book, but it's a pretty great book, and I reckon he's a voice we'll be hearing lots more of in the future. So that's The Feed. That's out on the 25th of January. This one, Feed, a little bit more established, I guess, and it's a little bit more established. This one, it focuses teenage books. It focuses on the relationships between the teenagers and how reliant they are on their social media feeds for their validation, as I said. So that's quite important. Because it was written in 2001, this is pretty prescient, really, of what was going to happen, and it's kind of about that crushing weight of expectation when you're a teenager, of fitting in, conforming. There's a quote in here, I can't find it. It turned out my up car was not the kind of up car my friends rode in. I don't know why. It has enough room, but for some reason people didn't think of it that way. Sometimes that made me feel kind of tired. It was like I kept buying these things to be cool, but cool was always flying ahead of me, and I would never exactly catch up to it. I feel like I've been running toward it for a long time. And I think that's massively true. It was certainly true when I was a teenager. I think it's even more true now. And this book is full of little bits like that. And so if you read the Geek Day thing, I will put some quotes in there. I won't read them all out now. But that is a really great book. I reckon it's kind of set to be a modern classic, maybe a forgotten classic. Hopefully not, because I do get it. It's published by Walker Books. I do get it, and I'm going to check out his new book hopefully for you soon. But that's thoroughly enjoyable. I'd never really heard of it. It's one of those books you think, how have I not heard of this before? A really good sort of rumination on technology and its effects on us as a society, which, as indeed is this one, Nick Clarke Window's The Feed, and again a rumination on society, technology, the desperate chase of followers. Having said that, please follow us and subscribe if you haven't already. promise not to put anything in your brains. So they are the feed. That's today's word Wednesday is feed. 2 excellent books. So this one you could give to your teenager. This one you'd probably want to read it first before you did. To be honest, they're probably fine. But my teenager's not quite a teenager yet, so I wouldn't give him that one. He's probably a little bit young for this one yet to fully understand it. I probably reckon 14, 15 for this. So that is the feed and feed. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope it was useful. Do check out the Geek Dad post if you want more details about them. I'll try and make that as informative as possible. And until next time, until we come back with some more books for you, do let me know if you've got any great books that kind of go into the effects of technology on society. I'm sure there are loads. I've read a few myself, but so it'd be good to have a discussion in the comments. So if you fancy that, then do leave a comment below. Until next time, take care. Goodbye.